Hello everyone, this is Raman from Cognixia and welcome to the webinar of DevOps Plus in through Cognixia. So before jumping into the course content and talking about the DevOps, let's first talk about the training arm, which is Cognixia. So as you can see this heading, which is being truly agile with DevOps. So those who are going to join this course, they will be definitely get trained in such a way that in the company, if you are using any software development life cycle, you will make it automate. All right. So let us talk about Cognitia first. What is this training institute? So Cognitia is award-winning training arm of Collabra, and it is one of the training institute which delivered training in more than 37 countries and more than 1 million professional trained worldwide. And it has more than 450 clients across the globe, 4,500 plus trainer. I am one of them. Best in class training on emerging technologies. Not only DevOps, there are other technology which is provided by Cognixia. So if we talk about our Cognixia awards, then best workplace among the emerging enterprises awarded by Great Indian Workplace Awards. So best workplace amongst the emerging enterprises awarded by Great Indian Workplace Award 2018 Mumbai, India. So these are some achievements by Cognixia. Best Training Provider of the Year awarded by the Golden Globe Tiger Awards in 2018. That is in the Malaysia. Cognixia is awarded as the Training Company of the Year in 2018. Top 10 IoT training companies for the second consecutive year. World HRD Congress has awarded for excellence in training Asia, and Best Emerging Technology Training Organization in the Middle East Training and Development Leadership Award 2018. So these are some of the achievements by the Cognixia Training Institute. Silicon India Best Training Provider for the Big Data Hadoop Developer of the year 2016, and it is Top 10 IoT Training Institute in 2016. So these are Analytics India magazine, Asian Training and Leadership Award in Dubai, top 5 emerging technologies training companies in 2016 by Silicon India, top 5 Big Data Training Institute Silicon India, top 5 Cloud Training Institute Higher Education, top 10 IoT Training Institute in India 2017 Higher Education's Review. So these are the some awards which we are highlighting here for company Cognixia. Cognixia is also an authorized training partner globally for Red Hat, Automation Anywhere, ITIL, ISC, and Microsoft partner. So it's a silver Microsoft partner. Okay, so this is all about Cognixia, and myself is Raman, and I'm having 20 years of experience in training. I started my career as a developer in somewhere in 1998, and then because I was having an interest, whatever I'm learning, I was teaching at that time. So I started my career with the Microsoft technology, but soon after I moved to Java development. Later on, I moved to Python development. Then I started my career in as a system administrator in Linux. So I was working on Red Hat enterprise version of the Linux. Then I moved to DevOps. From last almost now it is 5.5 years. I'm working on DevOps automation, where because I was a developer also, so I help my software team to automate their process, whether it's a related to their version control, whether it's a configuration management, whether it is related to CI/CD pipeline. So that's a brief introduction about me. Okay, so now let us talk about DevOps. So first, let me explain you why there are two words, dev and ops, development and operation. So whenever we are talking about development and operation, these two words are very important. If we talk about a software development lifecycle, which we call SDLC, software development lifecycle is basically when you are developing an application. So when I'm developing one application, say application for mail. So whenever you are creating one application, and ultimately this application will go into the production. This application go into the production, and that once it is in the production, then client will use it. So if you see in this complete life cycle, who is the most important person? The most important person is first developer. Because if developer does not create the application, there is no way that it will move to production, because application is not created, then how it can go to the production and how the client can see it. So developer is one of the very important person in this entire software life cycle. On the other hand, when client face any problem, say an example, some functionality is not working, then client will not contact to the developer. Client will contact to the customer care or L1 support or L2 support, right? So it means this L1 and L2 or the customer care are nothing but the operation team, means operations. So in entire software development life cycle, if we see, the most important person is developer and the operation. That is why it is called DevOps. So when we talk about DevOps, it is not only development and operation, but these are the most important element in this complete life cycle. That is why it is named as DevOps. When we talk about security, when we are talking about the sysadmin, when we talk about the networking, these comes after, once the application is finalized. Once your application is decided to move to production, move to testing, then you decide that we need to secure the application. We need to set up in networking so that web application and the database application can communicate to each other. So that is why we call it DevOps. We don't call it network security. We don't call it test security or test networking. Reason? Because these I'm not saying that these teams are not important. These teams are equally important. But what is the starting point and where the client is going to contact after moving the code into the production? So then that's why this entire software development life cycle process we call DevOps. Whenever we are talking about the DevOps, it means it is an automation process. So let us talk more about this automation. But if you see this diagram, in this diagram you can see first the customer or your company plan for the application. Once planning is done, then the code is to be developed by the developer. Once code is done, then it is to be built. Code is to be done in some languages like Java, Python, .NET. So here we use some programming language. So once your code is done, when developers finish the application coding, then that application is to be built. So whenever you are writing the code, you are also taking care of the version control. And we will talk about what is version control. Once your code is developed, you build it. Build it means you are basically creating the exe file. And when we talk about Java, it's a jar file or any other format by which your code results the compile version of your code. So this is the compiled version, right? So here we use the build tools. One of very important tool is Maven. So Maven is very widely used on the industry. Other tool is Ant. And in version control, when we are talking about, there are two types of version control. One is centralized and one is distributed. So for the distributed, we use Git, Bitbucket, and when we are talking about centralized control system, subversion control. After that, once your code is built, it is to be tested. Before moving into the production, you first want to test it. So testing is basically if you want to do the automation testing, especially for the web application, you use Selenium. And once your testing is done, then it is, if everything is successful, then it goes to the release. And then it is to be deployed. Release have different versions. So in release, there are a lot of things are hidden inside it. We can say configuration management. We will say that how the systems can be upgraded, right? So that release, and release also can have the version. So say an example, your first version is 1.1, 1.2. Okay, so these are the artifacts basically. Then your application is to be deployed to the production. So we use, for that purpose, we use a CI/CD pipeline, and we will discuss about the Jenkins about this. And then it is into the production, and then operation team basically monitor the application, monitor not only the application, the server, the networking, the other things. It is to be monitored by the operation team. So this is overall in the nutshell DevOps. So now you can see, even though we are talking about the developer and the operation, but there are a lot of things inside it which takes place. All right, so now, is the DevOps only process which exists? Was there? What is the history? Why DevOps was invented? What is the need of DevOps? What was the different models which was designed for the software development life cycle? First model which was very popular, or which we'll say it's the first process which was introduced in somewhere 1980s when the software was developed. So the waterfall methodology. When we are talking about a software development life cycle, so software development life cycle comes with the different phases. First phase, that requirement analysis. So in requirement analysis, basically you get the requirement from the client, you analyze it, what client want, and whether your company or your team can deliver that or not. So first you analyze that. After requirement analysis, we have the system design. In system design, you basically do the designing. So for example, if I want to create a Gmail kind of application, then what are the different pages? What will be the look and feel of the page, what are different controls I need to use. So that system design we create on the basis of the requirement which is provided by customer. Then implementation, this is not implementation in the production, but implementation means how that particular system will, which we are designing, how actually it is practically it will be moved to production. So for that implementation, you can say here we are doing the development. So here is the development. Once the development is done, then it goes for the testing. And once testing is successfully done, if there is a problem in the testing, tester again contact to the developer by saying that there are some problem in the development, so please fix these issues. And once that everything is done, all the development work is done and tested, then it goes to the production, which is called the deployment. So deployment is basically when you have the production servers and you move your application into the market. And after that, it is the maintenance which is done by the operation team. So this was the phases which is still true. So we follow such kind of phases in DevOps also, but these are the phases: requirement, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. What the waterfall is doing here. So what the waterfall does, you once one phase is over, you cannot go back. Say an example. Here is the requirement analysis when client interacts with the IT team. So client interacts with the IT team. And once it moved to production, then client comes to know this is my product which is in the market. And I'm taking an example of the say Gmail application, and you have say 100 pages to develop. So these 100 pages are going to move to production. So customer has given a requirement, I need an application which is having these 100 pages, and on day one he has given the requirement, and say an example on day 90 these 100 pages has been developed and moved to production. So client is basically the participation of client is on day one and on day 90. In between, client is not interacting at all. He does not know what is happening, but he has given the requirement, and in the end he is getting the output. 90 days, so minimal life cycle for waterfall model is 40 to 60 days. Each phase has a proper documentation. So say an example, system design, development, testing, deployment, maintenance, everywhere you need to write a heavy documentation. So now this model was good, and this was the first model which was introduced for the process point of view. So client is when you give that product to client on 90th day or 60th day, client is saying, I need some changes into my application. And that changes could be, a little bit time consuming or minor changes. Now you're saying to the client that, okay, we can do that changes, but you need to follow the same process again. Means we will gather the requirement, we will do the analysis, we do the system design again 40 to 60 days. And client is little bit frustrated because he does not want such kind of thing. He wants these are the minor changes, or these are the 10 days changes. Why don't you do it in the 10 days? But you are saying no, it is not possible because we need to follow waterfall model, and we need to follow this process. And because you are following the process, you cannot break that process, and that was an agreement with the client. So client also cannot do anything. Okay, he says okay, let's move this into the production, and another in the second release you can move these changes. Okay, so now you can realize that it is little bit cumbersome process where you are not pleasing the customer as he wants. He wants his product into the market as soon as possible. So this was the waterfall model. Okay, and it was in the market for almost 15 years. After waterfall model, there are some advantages and disadvantages of waterfall model. So that is why the next methodology which come into the market is agile methodology. In agile methodology, basically it is called the continuous iterations or iterations. So what is continuous iteration? So here, let me just show you by the diagram. Here, if you see, this is the similar kind of steps which we were following in the waterfall model. Here, the project requirement. So first, we take the requirement from so I will take the same example, Gmail application, and Gmail application with 100 pages. So instead of developing these 100 pages, what I will do, I will divide that Gmail application into 10 pages into 10 means I will do the 10 deployment, and each phase I will, or each release I'm going to I'm not going to move all 100 pages in one shot. First I will move 10 pages, then next 10 pages, and so on. So what is the benefit of this? Why we are dividing this complete project into the small projects? The reason is that client will be happy. So these 10 pages, if 100 pages, if I can deploy into the production in say 60 days or 90 days, 10 pages I can do the move to the production in 7 days or 10 days, right? So in 10 days, client is happy because now he can see his application is into the production or in the market. It is not full-fledged, but yes, a part of that is in the market. Say an example, there is a mobile company and they have different services like calling facility, they have internet service, they have Hello Tune, and so on. Now, what you are saying, okay, instead of moving every service into the production or to give it to the customer, first let us give only the calling facility. So the customer will be happy because a part of the complete project is in the production. After next 10 days, you are moving Hello Tune service or internet service. So this is the main purpose of the agile methodology. Okay, so you basically divide your project into chunks, and these chunks you move into the production in every release. So again, what we are doing, we are gathering the requirement of the customer. So client is here. So we get the requirement from the client. Then we create the user stories. User stories are nothing but these are the you can say documentation what we are going to do. So say an example, you are creating a web application, Gmail application. The first page is that username and password, but how that username and password it will appear means whether it will be appearing in a text box, drop down box. Okay, I'm taking some hypothesis. So that stories. So what will be the look and feel? What are the different uh, use cases? So that comes under the user stories. So here in the user stories, we are basically defining the use cases. Then we create the test cases. So these test cases, basically we are going to give it to the developer. So these test cases, we divide our use cases into some technical language and we call it test cases. And that test cases, we give it to the developer. Now here the iteration starts. Developer is developing the code. It could be one developer, two developer, or a team. Now this developer is talking to client. So here the client is participating. So in waterfall model, the client role was at the beginning and once the product is in the market. But here the client is participating when there is development of the product is happening. Developer is writing the code and developer is saying that, uh, see, I have developed this code. Are you okay with that? So he's basically taking the feedback of the customer. So he moved that code into the staging or the testing environment where customer can access it. And customer says, I need some changes. So that changes is done by the developer. He does the testing. And then again, he says that whether this change is fine with you or not. And once client is okay with all the changes, then he says, okay. So it is basically development team is continuously talking to the customer and customer's feedback is basically the documentation. In between, there are some testing happens, which we call the customer testing. So customer is doing the testing on his end. And in the end, when everything is done for that particular part of the project, then it moves to the completion. So everything is done, that code will move to the production. And after moving that code into the production, then there will be something which we call the planning meeting. So after that again customer may ask for the changes, right? So there is a iteration planning meeting and customer input. So when everything is done, then again customer watch that, and once it is into the production, he does his testing or real-time testing. So when everything is done, customer gives the input. In the planning meeting, he just uh, give his feedback to the planning team that okay, that should be the next step. So say an example, you are creating page one, the page two may have some changes also. So before doing the planning for that, better to do the better to do the changes before start the development. And this is basically I'm just giving a overview of what is agile methodology. But yes, there are a lot of things happens. There is a Scrum Master, product owners, daily stand-up meetings, sprints, extreme programming. So there are a lot of things happen. So, but I'm not going in much detail of that because our focus is DevOps. DevOps is basically the extension of Agile. So in Agile methodology, because there is a continuous iteration is happening, so DevOps is the extension of Agile methodology. So when we are talking about the Agile methodology, so the life cycle time is 7 to 10 days because you are not moving entire project into the production, you are moving a part of the project into the production. So the total time to move to production is 7 to 10 days. And that was pleasing the customer because in the waterfall methodology, this was 40 to 60 days minimum. But here it reduced to 7 to 10 days. On top of that, client is participating during the development of the application. And customer feedback is very important, and that customer feedback is the documentation for the development team or the operation team. So you as a developer or you as a operation team, always you don't like to write the documentation for each and everything. So you need that whatever I'm writing, there should be automate documentation for that. So this was again one benefit of the Agile. So you need to more focus on your area like development, and documentation will be taken as the customer feedback. Okay, so the customer demand is not ended here. Customer has sometime a very simple changes into the production. Say an example, if you are working in a company and that company name is changed, that company name is changed from say ABC to XYZ. All the web pages, title, customer wants to change it. And customer is saying that I know it's a configuration change, little configuration change. Can you do it for me? You as a project teams, you say yes, we can do it, but it will take minimum 7 days, 7 working days. Customer says no, it's urgent. We need to do it in a day, or if possible, in few hours. But because you are bound to that process, agile methodology, you need to follow that steps because there are some tasks which is not automatic, right? So you are saying right, this is the minimal change, only the but we need to test it properly. We need to see all the cases, means whether it is tested properly, it is not impacting any other thing. So customer is saying, no, I need it urgently. So this is one of the use case I'm saying, but such kind of use cases where there are minor changes and customer is in hurry to make that change into the production. So for that, we have the another methodology, which is DevOps. So DevOps, whenever someone asks you what is DevOps, so you say automation. What type of automation? In the software development life cycle, everything is automated. Developer just write the code, move to the repository. After that, everything is automated. So that is DevOps. So DevOps is the set of practices where development and engineers participate together in the entire application lifecycle, from design, development, testing, finally to the production support. There is a misconception that uh, DevOps is a tool. No, DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is a culture. DevOps is a process. DevOps is a practice, which ultimately makes automatic process for the software development lifecycle. So if someone says Jenkins is a DevOps, no, Jenkins is a tool which is used in the DevOps. So whenever we are talking about to make a process automate, then when we are talking about any process to make automate, it is a matter of the tool which we are using. So say an example, if you are using for CI/CD pipeline, which I will talk in a little bit. So CI/CD pipeline, if we talk about, so CI/CD pipeline is, you can achieve this by using Jenkins or you can use the TeamCity. Now it is up to you what you are going to choose, whether you are going to choose TeamCity tool or Jenkins. But motive is that to automate CI/CD pipeline. So tools are used to make the development lifecycle or software development lifecycle easy or automate. So DevOps is not a tool, it is an approach and it is a culture with objective of SDLC by bringing developer and operation closer. It emphasizes the communication, collaborations, and integration between developers and IT operation personnels. Okay, so because if you are appointed as a DevOps engineer, so you need to talk to different companies and different teams. And these teams, the collaboration between these teams and the integration of your application with security team, network team, testing team, this is the all the teams with which you are going to talk. Okay, So you are basically emphasizes on the communication. You are talking, you are basically the one who knows how development works. You may not know the logic, what is that, but what is the software they are using, what the database they are using, how the test environment will be, how the operation environment will be, what kind of security we need, what are the firewall we need to open. So these things comes uh, into your mind whenever you are talking about any software development lifecycle or move to the production. So end to end, development to operation. So whatever the things comes in between, so you as a DevOps engineer, you are working on it and you are making all these things automate. When we talk about DevOps, for management point of view, DevOps is the development and operation collaboration. For operation point of view, DevOps is treating your infrastructure as a code. So when we are talking about the operation team, management, if they say, so they are saying that there are different teams, they are working together and they are achieving the task. So that is the management view for the DevOps. And when we talk about operation team, what do you think? What is DevOps? So they are saying DevOps means my infrastructure, my applications, my users creation, files related. All these things are maintained by the some automatic tool or configuration tool. So for me, this is the DevOps. For developer, he's saying that uh, it's a feature of switches means you are moving your code to the GitHub, you are moving your code to production. So this is for me. And for DevOps engineer, it is automation. And DevOps always works on the small deployment. So these are the different view from different teams. They think what is DevOps. So as I explained you, DevOps is basically the extension of agile principles. So because when we were doing the development, so during the development, we need to talk to the customer. We need to show that what is the progress, what are the things which customer wants if he needs any changes. So that customer feedback is very important in that case. Okay, so how DevOps works basically. So DevOps works code is written in very small chunks versus large builds, right? So as I explained, it is the extension of Agile. So your code will be in chunks. Deployment happen in days, hours versus week, months. So now you're because everything is automate. So if I come back to my example, which I had given you that you need to change the title of a companies on web portal, then if you change the title in the configuration file, you can quickly do the testing and you can see the artifact means proof whether it is working properly or not through your script, right? So because everything is automate, so in that case, the testing is automate. Developer will just make the configuration change. Testing is automate. Building is automate. Testing is automate. And move to staging is automate. There it will be tested automatically. Integration testing, and in the end, move to production is also can be we can make it automate. So then that kind of changes in we can move in hours instead of days. Okay, so but we consider deployment happen in days or hours. Development environment is identical to the production environment. So we will see in our course there is a uh, concept which is called containerization, and we use Docker. So development environment when you create, it should be very much equal to the production environment. Rapid iteration improves the speed to react to the market needs. So because everything is continuous. So when we talk about continuous means It is automatic, and whenever you want to make the changes, you can easily make it, and again that process will be continuous or automate. Developing configuration management code to build infrastructure at scale. Real-time application performance monitoring to know the impact each node change makes. So we are going to discuss about some tools which we use for the monitoring purpose. Nagios is one of them, which will be the part of your syllabus. So real-time application performance, when we talk, so this is going to impact whether it is impacting my server, whether it is impacting my applications, other application, database. So everything will be monitored with that monitoring tool, and you can come to know that these are the impact on my servers. So this is how the DevOps works. So in short, why DevOps? So reason of adoption is because shorter development cycles and faster innovation. So let me take a case. If developer is developing a code and he want that this code is to be tested in the staging environment. So he contact to the tester, and tester says, okay, I will test it. Once he tests it, then he comes back with some issues to the developer and saying that these are the issues you need to fix. So developer is waiting for that period of time, and again he is working on that issues, and again he give it to the tester, and tester again test it, and he says that there are few new issues found, so you need to fix it. So this thing where developer is giving the code or build code to the tester, and tester is testing and comes back to the developer again. So it consumes, or we can say it wastes lot of time. If the testing is automatic, so if we automate the testing, then developer is writing the code, testing is done automatically, and immediately it gives the result to the developer by saying that these are the issues. And developer fix that. So developer is more concentrating on the development instead of waiting the things. So he can spend the time which was wasted earlier for the innovations. Okay, so it's a shorter development cycles and faster innovations, improve communication and collaboration, increase the, so because you are going to talk to the multiple teams, you as a developer, you need a server where you can store your data, or which we call the code repository, and you need to talk to the, if there is an issue in the testing, so definitely you are talking to the uh, testing team, and you are talking to the networking team. So there is a lot of communication between the team. Okay, so it improves the communication, increase the efficiency and reduce the maintenance. Okay, so because everything is automated, everything is monitored, everything has some proof of concept kind of thing. So DevOps is always increase the efficiency. You need not to worry because everything is automatic and everything is well tested. If it is failed, it will not move to the next phase of the cycle. Reduce the deployment failure, rollbacks, and less recovery time. Again, this is the by virtue of automation, it reduced the deployment and deployment failure, because production environment, development environment, testing environment, staging environment, all are similar. So the chances of failure, deployment failure is very less, but in case it happens, then you can easily roll back it because you have the release management as well, and recovery time is supposed to be less in the DevOps. So these are the cases, that's why we are thinking that we need to adopt the DevOps. So these are the 5 phases of the DevOps. DevOps will be completely achieved if every aspects of the below 5 phases are completed automated. So if these 5 phases, if this all is automatic, okay, so then you can consider that you are following the DevOps implementation. So first we talk about the development. So in the development, it should be means you are talking and taking the feedback of the customer, right? So collaborative development. So let us talk about collaborative development. This is the phase which involves planning and coding of the software application functionality. The development is achieved through agile methodology, where software development uh, where software development methodology that emphasizes on short, iterative planning and development life cycle. Code is written in the any language, but it is maintained in the version control tool. There are continuous development DevOps tools. The most popular tool used is GitHub, Bitbucket. So these are the version control system which maintain your code repository. And Git and GitHub, Git is these are basically your distributed version control system, and these are very popular. And more than 70% of the companies, they are using Git and GitHub for their version control system. And this is freeware and open source. But yes, there is a if you want to create private repository, then you need to pay. Otherwise, publicly uh, you can access it, so, and it is free of cost. So that is the collaborative development. Now, continuous testing. Whenever we are talking about the testing, so it should be continuous. So continuous testing is a process of executing the automated test as the part of the software delivery pipeline order to obtain feedback on the business risk on the basis of the software risk associated with the software release candidate as rapidly as possible. So when we are talking about the continuous testing, it means whenever developer wants, he can test it, his code. It could be a unit testing, it could be a web portal testing, it could be your load balance testing, or it could be your performance testing. So for that, there are different testing. So unit testing, we call it whenever there is a developer and developer is writing a code and he wants to test it immediately. Means the code which he wants to test it during its development cycle itself. So in the when he's writing the code and he's testing it, that is called the unit testing. In different languages, there are different type of tools we use. Like for Java, we use JUnit. For .NET, we use NUnit, and so on. So these tools are, if you see on my screen, we have JUnit, Selenium. So Selenium is one of the testing tool for the web application, which we can write in Java or Python. We have HP load balancer, we have Cucumber. Now let us talk about the continuous integration. So what is continuous integration? In continuous integration, we are talking about whenever, so let me just explain that what is continuous integration. So we have a, so code is written by the developer and code is moved to the code repository, which is Git and GitHub. Okay, so once it is moved to the GitHub, then it is to be built, then it is to be tested, and once the testing is done, then the feedback goes back to the developer. So when this process, the one which I am writing here, code, move to repository, then build, and if everything is automate, this is called CI, continuous integration. Okay, and for that we use a tool Jenkins. So Git and GitHub is one which we will talk in your syllabus, and second is the Jenkins, which is used for the CI, means continuous integration. Jenkins is not only used for the continuous integration, but it can be used for the continuous delivery and deployment. So let me just talk about continuous delivery. So for example, once your code is successfully tested, then it should be moved to some server, like your staging server or your UAT server, user acceptance testing. But before moving it to the production, you need one approval. That if that approval is manual. So up till staging or UAT, everything is automate. But before moving to the production, your ADM or manager or someone has to approve it. Then it goes to the production. This process is called continuous delivery. When there is a manual intervention is required to move that code into the production, then it is called continuous delivery. If I make this manual approval to automate, then it is called continuous deployment. So the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment is that when there is a manual intervention is required, then it is called continuous delivery. When the manual intervention for move to the production, if it is automate, then it is called continuous deployment. Okay, for that again we are going to use Jenkins. So Jenkins plays a very important role in the CI/CD pipeline. It basically club all the tools which we learn step by step or part by part, and it basically club that all the tools, and ultimately we are clubbing them into Jenkins. Okay, so if you see this diagram, so these are the developers who is writing the code, moving the code into the source control, then there is a trigger happen, and there is a build, test, and feedback goes back to the developer. This is called continuous integration and continuous and delivery. So wherever you see the word artifact, so artifact is nothing but the proof, you can see evidence. So if there is a manual decision is required by some human being to move the code into the production, then it is called the continuous delivery. And when we make that uh, automatic, then it is called continuous deployment. So if you see this diagram, continuous delivery, so here code commit, test, integrate, acceptance testing, everything is automatic. But deploying to the production, it is called, so deploy to the production, it is manual intervention is required. Continuous deployment, so here this manual intervention is now automated. So this is the difference between delivery and deployment. For continuous delivery and deployment, we use configuration management tool. And in your syllabus, we are having Ansible, Chef, and Puppet. So these are the tools which we are going to use for the configuration management. And that is Ansible, Puppet, and Chef. So what are these tools? So these tools, let me just talk about these tools. These tools are very important because here we are making infrastructure as a code. Okay, infrastructure as a code means what? It means you are installing a software. You are installing a software, and this software is installed on 1,000 systems or 10,000 systems. Then how to do that? So that is not possible that you need to go to each and every system and and deploy the code. That is not a intelligent way. So intelligent way is that you need to write some script, and that script is called the infrastructure as a code. So there are two types of mechanism for this. One is push based, another is pull based. So if this is a server where where you have the script, and these are the machines where you need to install it. So if this server, we call it master server, and these servers we call the agent machines. So if this server or the master server decides that whether these agents, the configuration on this agent is to be handled by the master, then it is called the push based mechanism. Means master is controlling the configuration of the agent machines. Most of the time we use the SSH layer for this, and Ansible is push based mechanism. Whereas in the Puppet or Chef, we use the pull based mechanism. So what is pull based mechanism? In pull based mechanism, you need to install a master software and an agent software, and they basically talk to each other through some certificate authority. Okay, and we need to open the firewall, and now agent request to the server to update something. Something means like some software or your user account. So these things means you can, or this agent can request to the server, and server execute on the agent machines. So this kind of process is called pull based mechanism, and we will see these are very interesting and important topic as a configuration as a management tool and delivery and deployment. So we will see in very detail how to write. So we need to write the scripts. We will write the script in the Ansible, where we are going to use the YAML language. In Puppet and Chef, we are going to use the actually Ruby, or it is DSL. There is one language, and Chef we are going to write the code in the Ruby language. Okay, so this is the continuous deployment and delivery. Now, some container tools. So container tools are similar. You can say these are the tools which contains your applications. Contains your application means applications. Say an example, you have web server, you have application server, you have database server. So far before containers, we were using virtual machines. So containers are very lightweight images, which is running in the production, easy to maintain, and there are a lot of things. Okay, we have almost 3 lectures on this, where we are talking about the Docker Swarm. So Docker Swarm is basically uh, orchestration tool which maintains these containers. Also, we are going to discuss about the Docker with Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is also very demanding topic, and most of the container orchestration is done through the Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is also one of the topic which is very interesting. We are going to write some script, and we are going to automate the deployment. We will create some replications, We will use some services, jobs, etc. Then for the continuous monitoring, so these are some tools which I'm showing on the screen, but in your syllabus, we are going to discuss about the Nagios. So Nagios is your monitoring tool, and this monitoring tool is basically monitors your application, monitors your server, etc. And it will intimate with alerts to the respective team or the stakeholders who are responsible for that application if there is any issue occurs. So this is basically used for the operation team. So this is the old way when we were using the developers just hand off that build to the tester, hand off to the release and operate. The new way is that everything is automate. Okay, so that's it for this presentation for development point of view. And the one tool which is not I have mentioned here is the Maven. So Maven also in our syllabus where we are going to talk about that, how to do the build automation. And we will talk in our syllabus point of view. So we are going to discuss about Git and GitHub. We are going to talk about Maven. We are going to talk about Docker, Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, Ansible, Puppet, Chef, uh, and then we have the Nagios, Kubernetes. So these are some topics which is included into your syllabus. Okay, so I have seen some of the questions. So Docker is very important, Aditya, because this Docker is one of the hot topic in the DevOps where you are deploying your applications. So we create some lightweight images, and these lightweight images, once it runs, it is similar to your virtual machines. But it is not a good idea to compare Docker and virtual machines. Both are in the different architecture. What is the sequence for the DevOps certification? So almost each tool has its own certification, like for Ansible, now it is a product of Red Hat, and for Kubernetes, Puppet. So each tool has its own certification. Why DevOps more for testing, not for development? It is not more for testing, more for development. So testing, development, everything is important. So there is no comparison that it is for testing, not for development. Actually, your DevOps cycle starts after the development because after development, your code goes into the repository, then testing, build, and then testing, and so on. So DevOps is means it's not. You cannot say that it is more on testing or development. Zookeeper is not in the syllabus. It's a part of the big data, Sushant. Which best platform language for the DevOps? Actually, for DevOps, there is no language, but if you have some scripting knowledge, that would be great. As DevOps is a process, then how CI/CD different from the DevOps? Or it's a way to achieve the DevOps process? Yes, it is the way to achieve the DevOps process. Without complete knowledge of programming language, it is right away to move to the DevOps. Yes, you can move. There is no problem. So, but you should have some basic command knowledge of Linux. So our course is totally Linux based. So if you have some basic knowledge of Linux, that will be great. Otherwise, I will share some of the commands uh, of the Linux. So which will be enough for that. How much hike we can expect after the course IT industry? Currently, I'm working in robotic process RP. See that part, hike part, it's a industry standard. So if you take this course very seriously and you do the practice along with me and whatever the assignments we give it to you, if you do it, so probably you will be in a good position to clear the interview. And as per industry standard, 30%, 40% that hike I do see for your current salary. Yeah, Ashutosh, that's correct. We are going to, whatever the tools I have discussed, all we are going to discuss, all we are going to cover in our syllabus. I'm infrastructure background. Will DevOps be useful for me? Yes, that's correct. Nihar, what is the tester role? So tester role is for the test automation, but you cannot limit yourself as a tester. You can take you need to take some more responsibility. So responsibilities like you need to work as a sysadmin, DevOps engineer, because when you are a DevOps engineer, you are not limited to the tester. You are a system engineer. You are a uh, contacting with the operation team, that production servers, GitHub repository, building the application. So you need to basically move from tester role to all these roles. So DevOps, as a DevOps engineer, you must be comfortable with all these technologies. If you have a solid grip on Linux, that will be good, because most of the tools now in our syllabus also we are going to discuss on the Linux platform. So if you have a knowledge of Linux basic command, that is more than enough. So Jira is not the part of the syllabus. So once it is moved to the release, when you move it, you can basically do the changes, but it should be in the next release. Yes, Sayyad, that is correct. You can use the DevOps for any kind of development. Is DevOps is good for freshers? Yes. So DevOps, you again, if you are a developer, then you can use that you can make your career into the DevOps. Operation team, you can make the things automate by using Negios, right? So if you want to limit it to operation, then you can say that I'm limited to my operation team. But then you need to use some tools, as I have told you that DevOps for the operation team, it's the infrastructure as a code. That is what you are thinking. So we will discuss about Rohit branching strategies in the Git and GitHub in version control system. That will be detailed in the Git and GitHub. So ETL background also you need. For ETL background, that is basically the development. So it will be, so guys, a lot of people are asking that whether this is good for me or not good for me. So I give you a very straightforward answer that you need a basic knowledge of Linux. That's it. After that, it will be very much easy for you, whether you are a developer, whether you are a ETL process guy, whether you are a tester, it does not matter. So this course is basically for all the teams who are working in the different streams. So ultimately your mindset is that in my development life cycle or whatever the work I am doing, that I need to make it automate. I'm a sysadmin if DevOps done. So if you are a sysadmin, so you need to think that whether can I make my process automate or not. If you want to make your process automate, so say an example, you are installing some software, you are creating users, you are doing some networking stuff, and you think that can I make this thing automate? Yes, then you can use the DevOps tools. Sorry, actually, guys, there are a lot of questions, so if I miss someone's, then I'm fresher, basic knowledge of Linux. That's right. Future, yes, Vasif, that is correct. Yeah, Ashish, same thing for you, right? So if you are in this from the security background, so again, if you want to make the things automate, you need to use some DevOps tools, right? You can apply that DevOps tools into your security environment, or if you want to say that I want to jump into the another technology also, then also DevOps tools are beneficial for you. If I'm good at DevOps, what kind of role I can expect? So then your role will be the DevOps engineer, where you are writing the infrastructure as a code, where you are creating CI/CD pipeline. Programming language is not a mandatory part. So programming language you can use a means if you know the little bit script, that is okay. But yes, if you have some basic knowledge of programming, how to write if condition, how to write loop, that is more than enough. Selenium, Amit. Selenium is a test automation tool. So DevOps for AI and machine learning, that will be uh, means you can implement DevOps, but it is not the syllabus of machine learning as a DevOps. But you can maintain the things. So machine learning and AI is basically say different stream. So, but if you want to make automate something there, then you can use the DevOps tools. So, Mausam Gupta, you are not a developer, you are not a tester. Definitely these things, because this is the new thing which you are going to learn, and this is very highly demanded. So one thing I will just explain you, DevOps is very highly demanded. It is something like that. There are less resources, but jobs are more. If you see the future of IT, it will be DevOps. DevOps for the infrastructure point of view, if we talk, and data science, if we talk about the analysis point of view. So, but in if we talk about the data science, you need your mindset is different. Your mindset should be as a analytical mindset. But when we are talking about the DevOps, your mindset is that I want to automate my infrastructure. Not AWS certification is not mandatory. So there are that support team can help you what you are going to what will be the course content. So scripting automation is nothing but you are writing the code which will automate your process, like your infrastructure. DevOps automation is basically set of the tools which create entire life cycle as a automate. If I don't have any knowledge of the Linux, then can I apply for the course? You can do that. I'm saying Linux only basic commands is required. And if you are not aware, you can check some videos, or I can help you in that. But in the course I cannot help you, but offline I can share some videos which are recorded by me for Linux. So there will be 9 to 10 tools which we are going to discuss in DevOps. Azure DevOps is basically more dedicated to the Azure related services, and DevOps Plus is generic or common tools which we are using. So all are important. Based upon your experience, which role of a person go after completion. So you will be a DevOps engineer, Srinivas. So if you don't have the programming knowledge, you need to follow my lecture. And once you follow my lecture, you will know, and you need to see if you have a basic knowledge of programming, that is more than enough. No, this is not under machine learning or AI data science field. You will get the webinar PPT. Thank you. Okay. I'm IT operation. Yes, you can use. So it will be, you can consider that it is almost 100% practical. So only in first lecture also, where we will talk theoretically, but you will see that almost in our course contents are 98%, I would say it is practical. Even first lecture also, we will see how to create virtual machines, how to install operating systems. Okay, sorry, I did not answer all the questions, but yes, this DevOps is a future. If you see the future of IT industry, it does not matter. You are a fresher, you are a ETL, you are a software engineer, you are from the operation, you are a desk support. If you are not from the even IT, this course is definitely for you. And I hope you will learn a lot. Okay, thank you very much everyone to participate.